In the middle of the desert, a bunch of boys are digging holes in the sand under the scorching sun. Suddenly a rattlesnake appears nearby and a boy that can't take the work anymore decides to take off his shoes to touch the snake, meeting his end. Meanwhile in the city, Stanley Yelnats IV is walking by when suddenly a pair of shoes falls on his head, knocking him down. Since his dad is working on a cure for stinky feet, Stanley decides to bring the shoes home, but at that moment the police surround him. Those shoes belong to a famous baseball player and were stolen from a charity event, so now the cops think Stanley did it. The police take him to see his parents and immediately notice suspicious things. His dad Stanley III has an apartment filled with dozens of shoes, and Stanley IV has posters of the baseball star on his wall. Considering this proof, Stanley is taken to court, where he's offered two options: jail, or spending 18 months in Camp Green Lake. Stanley obviously chooses the camp, and during the trip, he can't help wondering if this incident is part of the family curse. The bus crosses a vast desert full of holes, and for a second Stanley thinks he can see a merchant with his mule, but it seems it's just his imagination. He arrives at a small shady town, which is filled with boys wearing prison uniforms. Stanley meets the warden's right hand, Mr. Sir, who finds Stanley's name funny. The boy explains the family surname Yelnats is Stanley backward, and naming the son Stanley became a tradition to keep the pun, but Mr. Sir doesn't care and proceeds to share how things work here. The camp doesn't have watchtowers or fences because there's nothing but desert for hundreds of miles without a single source of water, so nobody dares to escape. Stanley is given only 2 sets of clothing and a shovel, which will be used to make holes. Every day Stanley must dig one hole 5 foot deep and measure it with a shovel. The longer it takes him to dig, the longer he'll stay out in the sun. He also has to be careful to avoid rattlesnakes and yellow-spotted lizards, because they can kill him. Next Stanley meets the camp's counselor Dr. Podansky, who shows him around and tells him the number 1 rule is not to bother the warden. Podansky makes the other boys take Stanley to the place where he'll sleep, which has vomit stains from the dead child. The doctor calls the guys by their real names, but they only refer to each other by using the nicknames they've acquired here. The youngest boy is Zero,